Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us here today. My name is Zosia Wanat. I am the bureau chief of Bloomberg News in Warsaw, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Maciej Staniszewski, CEO and co-founder of ElevenLabs, the voice AI startup, which some say is one of the hottest AI companies out there right now. No pressure, Mati. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. Hey everyone, cześć wszystkim. We are excited. I think it's such a rare chance that you have where there's the biggest technological shift that's happening in the world with artificial intelligence. And one of the modalities that we think was underserved from the beginning is the modality of voice, of audio. And with ElevenLabs, we decided to be able to change that and make content accessible in audio.
Lovely. Mati, I remember I was chatting to you back in like 2023 when, right before you announced your first pre-seed round. ElevenLabs was then a tiny startup, 6 people strong. You were struggling to get some first funding. No one really heard about you. And I mean, that was 2 years ago, but it really feels like a lifetime ago because like the business environment has changed, the AI has boomed, obviously, it has changed, it has penetrated almost every aspect of our lives, and it has helped the companies like yours, right? Because ElevenLabs since then has raised hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. It is now valued at $3.3 billion. It employs 180 people all around the world. You have just opened an office in Japan. I mean, this is crazy. The pace of this is really extraordinary. And I just wanted to ask you, you know, like, what do you think about this? Like, do you feel that your head is spinning? Like, do you have to pinch yourself sometimes to, you know, to realize that this is real?
It's like many ideas, you know, they start, even though we were lucky to be on this quick journey over the last 2 years, but really the idea started probably 2 years prior. And I think we had this unfair advantage of being able to see something that the rest of the world didn't, and actually part of the inspiration comes from here, from Poland, and as I think many people here will be familiar with lector experience, but if you watch a foreign movie in a Polish language, all the voices, whether these are female voices or male voices, are narrated with this one single voice, one single narrator, usually with relatively flat delivery, less emotions, less intonation. And we, of course, grew up with this. My co-founder is Polish. We are both Polish. And we knew that as we think about the world with audio technology and AI, it will change. You will actually be able to have any conversation out there, but still hear the same voice, intonation, and emotion as the original.
And I remember back when you started, ElevenLabs was exactly that, right? You started as the text-to-speech solution company technology. Then you also started offering services in dubbing, so speech-to-speech from one language to another. But I have a feeling that since then, again, like every month or every week, ElevenLabs announces something, a new feature, a new product, a new application, a new partnership. I mean, where are you with your business right now? I mean, what is the main focus of your business?
So exactly, and over the years we evolved where the audio is across so many different domains of work, and as a company we do the research work and the product work, but whether you think about online media, we think this will evolve where everything is narrated and available and by default in audio. So you can listen to the article in any voice you want, listen to the book in any voice you want. You mentioned dubbing, of course, so that's another theme we're seeing where you will be able to have those conversations in other languages. But probably the biggest one and the biggest change that is happening this year, and it's clearly becoming a new way of delivery and interacting with technology, is AI agents or agentic workflows that kind of evolve the customer experience that has existed in the past and now is amplified with AI voices. So whether this is being able to interact with the technology around you, I'm sure most of the people here are familiar with Alexa or Siri, where most of these don't still feel natural, they don't feel very good, and we think this will change over the year or two, where you will have that interactive experience which will be enjoyable. And that's probably one of the biggest focus areas for ElevenLabs today, whether it's in healthcare and finance on customer support, whether these are new deliveries in media experiences in gaming, where you can speak with characters, or completely new applications in educations and companions, where you can have on your phone that device that is able to talk you through any subject, and that wouldn't have been possible before, where suddenly, I'll give a quick story. There's the story about Alexander the Great. His tutor back in the day was Aristotle. So Aristotle was teaching Alexander the Great, and one thing that Alexander the Great could do is, of course, ask him questions back. Now, of course, over the years, all the Aristotle works have been codified. You can read them, but none of us are able to ask Aristotle a question back. And now suddenly, with the AI change, that's possible. You can bring that knowledge into a new world where you can actually interact with those incredible people of the past and learn from them in a way you couldn't before. And that's probably a theme that we are seeing all around the world in our work.
Perfect. I mean, I think we can all imagine, how ElevenLabs tech can be used in sectors such as entertainment or publishing or films, right? But I'm just wondering whether you could give us one example or two examples of the use case that you are most proud of, something really extraordinary where you felt, oh my God, I'm actually doing something good for the world, not just making money, but also this is really changing how we live.
There's so many, but I think the two that come to mind, the first one, the recent one, we work with 911 operators, so the people taking emergency calls. And one of the big issues is that it's very hard to train people in the 911 calls. So you need to create very emotional voice that would simulate how a person would be calling in all those different types of situations, so they are ready for taking those calls. And we are able to recreate those very emotional calls that would call 911 agents, of course, collaborating with them, and train them up in a much quicker way than they could before, where now we've been able to amplify the recruiting across 911 so people can take more calls than they could before. And on a very different aspect, and I think this one is the close to something that wasn't possible before, is we work with a lot of patients that lost their voices due to cancer, due to ALS, and cannot speak again. And we worked a few months back with a congresswoman in the US, Jennifer Wexton, where she lost her voice, she couldn't speak anymore, but she, despite the unfortunate circumstances, really wanted to push forward and show that you can continue working, continue inspiring others. And we recreated her voice with her. And she was one of the first people ever to speak in US Congress with AI technology, with AI voices, and actually continued that work for many months onwards, which was incredible.
I mean, the very well-deserved round of applause. But I mean, with all this in mind, that this technology is really changing the world, I think we really we can't forget that there is also a huge potential of misuse when it comes to AI technology. And I think in audio AI especially, the biggest threat are deepfakes, right? Like whether these are scammers who want to cheat us on our money, or someone who wants to prank celebrities, or someone who wants to conduct like more complicated disinformation operation or like political meddling. And I mean, ElevenLabs reportedly has been linked to some of these incidents. The most famous was the deepfake of Joe Biden during the US presidential election campaign. And I mean, this is serious stuff. I mean, this can really undermine the democratic processes. Do you feel that you have it under control?
So first, to the last question first, definitely, it's a quickly evolving technology, and as you mentioned, with the technological shift, you can use it for the good, and you will have bad actors trying to abuse the technology. And I think we need to be honest with ourselves that deepfakes, AI content, AI-generated content across social media will be the standard. People will have that everywhere. There's open source technology, other commercial technology without any safeguards where that will increase. And I think it's a great question you ask, that people need to be ready that this will be on social media, in traditional media, and people need to be ready that, that not everything that's out there can be trusted. And now, as we think about our work, and we are now in a position where we're leading in a lot of the audio work, it's also our responsibility and our take to actually take and build the protections both for ourselves, but also for the wider space. And I think the key things that we are really trying to carry across to the space. The first one is transparency or provenance of content. So any AI-generated content that's out there should be able to be detected and then traced back to who generated it. So that's ElevenLabs. We of course work on that across. The second one is the moderation. So some of the examples you mentioned with fraud and scams or some of the manipulation, you can detect to some extent on the text level and take action. And that's something that we do. And maybe a last one, but probably the one of the most important, it's not only about building that on our side, but how can you build that detection mechanism across other technologies out there. So if you are on social media, it automatically detects this is AI, you get that information, or this is real, this is authenticated and provided back to the user. So here what we do is effectively build the technological models and work with others like University of Oxford, Berkeley, Reality Defender to bring that technology for all the technologies out there. So not only ElevenLabs, but also open source. And in all the cases, we've been able to fight it back, so it's been going well.
Yeah, but do you think it's enough, though? Like, do you think, or should there be a little bit more engagement also from other actors, those that you mentioned, but also maybe from the government side?
So you know, I think definitely there's still a set of use cases we don't know exist. And recently we have a Chinese competitor. We've built all the safeguards that we could, and the same competitor has none of those safeguards. And suddenly we can see that you're trying to prevent the bad actors from using the technology, but also the good actors that are using this for good are also feeling the friction. You're writing an audiobook, there is a note about finance, that audiobook now is blocked and cannot be generated, and those users then travel to the other services. So a quick answer to your question is, I would, of course, love to have like a standard framework for all the companies to adhere to and go through. And I think to some extent the current law is doing really well on doing that. Doing robocalls and fraud and scams is illegal, and people are being sought after, as in some of the presidential election cases. But I think there'll be more, especially as the AI develops, where all of us here will have a personal assistant. Most of us here will have authenticated AI version of our own voice that will call for you and book a restaurant or book tickets, and you will want to know on the other side that this is your real version, your real AI voice speaking. And similarly, on the other side, we work with so many incredible voices, incredible talent that read with their permission and their compensation, and you want to know that these are the real voices. Most recently, we worked, of course, with Piotr Frączewski, iconic Polish voice, where with his extension of the legacy, he wants to be able to narrate all the texts out there. And you want to know that these are actually with his blessing and with his work. So I think this framework needs to evolve, so you can not only know whether something is fraudulent, but also you need to know whether it's authenticated, real, and actually right.
Sure. Mati, do you consider ElevenLabs to be a Polish startup?
It's a great question, because from the start, our mission was to make content accessible in all the languages. So we've started a company with this primitive of, we want to make content available everywhere. And with that, we were treating it from the start as a global aspiration and global company, and that's how we evolved our work. So we don't feel US startup, we don't feel UK startup, we don't feel Polish startup, but we do feel high connection to that ecosystem. We have the roots here, and we invest a lot of our time and capital into Poland.
That's a perfect founder's reply, right? No, you probably know why I'm asking. It's because Poland has been waiting for so long for a startup that would sort of start this flywheel effect. So a startup that would be so successful coming from Poland, from the local ecosystem, that it would start to give back to the ecosystem, right? Either it's investment or know-how or the connections that you have. Do you think that ElevenLabs can be this startup for the Polish ecosystem?
The one thing that we clearly see, there's such incredible talent in Poland, in CE region, so many people willing to now take the risk and go after building something special. So yes, we do believe there's a huge potential, and that's where we invest a lot of our time and energy to make this possible. And also, like from a different angle, we really care about trying to make Europe, to make Poland as part of that, actually shine in the AI industry, AI innovation, and bring it back to the top. So hopefully we can do that.
Perfect. On that positive note, I would like to thank you for your anecdotes, your honesty, and your time. Thank you so much for being with us today.